Welcome to another video with me, Keith Gleason, host of Indie Comics Relay and creator of the Mighty Mascots. And I'm here with my co-host, Johnny C., creator of Sartana and Surrounded by Death. In this video, we're going to talk about the year of 2022 and Comic-Cons and our experiences and trends and all that fun stuff that we saw this year, right, Johnny?
It's been a weird year for conventions, and we'll go to the bottom of it in this video.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to talk about. Before we do that, just a reminder: Mighty Mascots 7, 8, and 9 still live on Indiegogo. Issue 7 is in the can. Issue 8 is almost done, and then we'll be starting issue 9 very shortly here. So definitely check it out if you haven't yet. Back it. Check out all the good stretch goals we've unleashed and everything else. There's a lot to love here on this campaign, so definitely check that one out.
And we need those temporary tattoos.
Yeah. So well, I'm hoping this is, I could talk about this more in the live stream, but I'm hoping to have the toys on there soon so that I can kind of give it a little boost,
Those are going to be exciting as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I'm hoping. We'll see. But yeah, the reason I want to do this video, we haven't talked about Comic-Cons in a little while here on this channel. And, last weekend was the final one for me for the year. And I know you're done for the year of 2022.
Sure was.
And yeah, it's been a real roller coaster year for conventions. And it's hard to tell what it actually is. Well, I don't know. I think it's a combination of a bunch of things. Let's talk about it this way. Not only have you said this, I've said this, and I've talked to a few other creators. And also, even this weekend, I talked to some retailers about their experiences with this year of Comic-Cons. And everybody seems to think that the peak of the Comic-Con season was in the summertime. Like, the first half of the year was way, way better than the second half.
Yes, 100%. I think, if you're looking at anything pre-June was profitable.
Yes.
Anything post-June, there was a significant hit. Not to say that you couldn't have had a profitable show, but it's like there was definitely a strain on people's wallets, it seems like, after we hit that June mark. And then every show after that was a little bit of a struggle for a lot of people.
Yeah, everyone I talked to, even retailers that sell comic books, same experience, which is interesting. There are a few things I could kind of point to. I know the economy is definitely a major factor, I think, because during the summer, I think, is when things started to spike out of control, like gas prices, food short, everything, everything was happening. And normally, though, it's funny, like with other recessions, like remember back in like 2011 when the economy was in the shitter too. It wasn't as bad as it is this time around, but everyone was always saying, like, no matter how bad the economy was, that comic books and entertainment stuff still did well. But I think we finally reached a point where that's not true.
Yeah, that bubble burst. I mean, they keep saying that we're not in a recession, but it sure feels like one. If it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, and people aren't buying comic books, it's a recession.
Yeah, or going to shows. Like, I mean, at least you could count on that. Like, even if they weren't buying your stuff, there was usually a lot of people. But I didn't see that at a lot of shows in the second half of the year.
I feel like people are spending more money. They're like, okay, if I'm going to spend money on something, where we were coming out of the pandemic, people were stuck at home, like investing in physical media, like comics and things like that, were a little bit more economical because you can't go anywhere. Now you have like $200 Metallica tickets for 2 years from now in the New England area. And people are buying that over physical media. So it goes to show there's money to be spent, but they're doing it in different ways because for 2 years, they couldn't go to concerts. They couldn't go to amusement parks. They couldn't go out to clubs and to things like that. So I feel like a little bit of that is kind of affecting things as well. So, where we might not really be in a recession according to the government,
Yeah.
It feels like it because people are choosing to spend their money a little bit differently. And they also have to be very conservative too. Like you said, gas prices are ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely. And anybody that owns a home, electricity is shot up majorly. I mean, everything's more expensive. Our grocery bills, gone up. I want to say something like 30 to 50%,
Our Thanksgiving
crazy.
grocery bill was $400.
That's crazy, dude.
Nuts. It's nuts.
And the other thing I was thinking too that might be happening, I feel like there's a little bit of superhero fatigue happening with like some of the Marvel movies and just superhero movies and TV shows in general. Like, and that could be playing a factor in it too. Like, if you're sick of that stuff, you might be sick of going to shows. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing out other things that I'm thinking of. I mean, I think it's mostly the economy, just because of where shows started to dip and continue. And interesting, I pulled this is the first year I actually sat down and actually recorded every table and how much I paid for them.
Yeah.
And then also how much I made. But it's just I didn't include anything else like gas or food. Most of these shows I didn't have to get a hotel. They were like within traveling distance. So I went to 16 cons in 2022. Okay?
Wow. That's a lot of shows.
That's a lot of shows. And that's about one a month or 1.5 a month or something like that, if you break it down.
Yeah, for sure.
Just looking at it though, most of the shows, the only ones I did multiple days were Saratoga earlier this year. And Terrificon, and that might be it. Let me see.
Which Terrificon, their tables just went live for next year. We know it's a popular show, but they also raised their prices.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, if you're going into next year, you're going to be looking at more expensive shows where you might not make as much.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very we'll talk about that in a minute about 2023. But so I only did 2 shows this year that were multiple days, and that was Terrificon and Saratoga. Now, both of them were profitable for me. I get. Well, Terrificon barely was profitable for me.
Well, you also had the musical chairs dilemma.
Yeah, that scenario was horrible.
Yeah,
I'll link that video here too if people want to watch my report of that show. But yeah, so like if we had gotten a hotel at Terrificon, we would have lost money easily just looking at the numbers. And Saratoga, we would have been. So Saratoga, we paid $235 for the table. We made $400, but you factor in the hotel, it's not much profit there.
Right.
We only stayed one night, which was like one something. So
I always try not to factor in the travel expenses because those get written off. You know what I mean? So you get a little bit more of a rebate there. Like if you look at table cost to actual income, that's the best way to judge a show.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, definitely.
And I was just gonna say the other thing for me is like the choices you make. Like for example, SPX for me, I kind of struggled at that show a little bit. It wasn't what I expected. But also, if I actually invested in a half a table, like most other creators did, instead of a full table, I would have profited. Whereas I went for a full table and I didn't profit. So it would have been a marginal profit, but I still would have profited,
Yeah, and you weren't the only one. Actually, next to me at the last show I did last weekend, I was next to Steve Mardo again. Great artist, wonderful artist. Did a variant cover for Mighty Mascots 7, the one where Boxer Bear's punching all the cereal out of the wall. Awesome artist. He was at SPX too this year.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, and I asked him if he saw you, and he said he didn't know. He didn't remember. You guys might not have met. I don't know. Good dude though, Johnny. Awesome guy. And he was saying the same things you were saying, that he just didn't feel like he belonged there. He'd always heard it was an amazing show. And then, this year just seemed like off, with everything,
for sure.
So
for sure.
Looking at
I would be open to doing that show again. I don't think it's a bad show. I just felt like maybe didn't know what to expect, and I made a few unwise choices in terms of, like I said, instead of getting a full table, I should have went for a half.
what if you? I was thinking like, what if we did Baltimore instead of that one because it's kind of the same area, right?
Yeah, well, Baltimore's a popular show too, and I've heard kind of a mixed bag in that regard. But
Yeah, I'd like to
I
try
like,
that one time just because I've heard great things. So I'd also
yeah,
like to try Heroes again at some point too.
yes, I would definitely like to. Those are shows I definitely would like to try out.
In the
Heroes
coming
Con.
years.
I've always heard good things. And more so than actual profitability, I heard Heroes Con is a good show to network and find like artists and
Yeah,
other
and it's pure
creators.
comic books. You won't find anything there but comics, which is great.
Right.
That's kind of cool. Like they're very comic centric. It's just a lot of that's a lot of money to do if you don't live in North Carolina because of the hotels and the flight and everything is a little pricey.
Yep.
But
But
yeah,
down south is relatively cheap too. So, like, if you're going to go out to eat after, you're not going to spend too much.
right. Yeah, it's true. So I tallied up the shows here. So out of the 16 that I did, it looks like 10 of them I made money at. Like I went above the table costs.
And what was do you have your best show?
Yeah, the best show for us was the Start on the Street Festival, which wasn't even a Comic-Con, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That was great. Wicked Comic-Con was huge for me. And funny thing is, the one I did last weekend, I did horrible at, but earlier this year, it was same venue, same place in March.
Same promoters, like same
promoter,
show?
same exact show, basically. I did in March. I did, looking at it, let me see. I paid $30 for the table. I made $170. And the last weekend, I lost money. I paid $30 for the table, and I only made $25. So,
do you feel like the show was equally promoted, or do you feel like this show may have been like, they did well the first time, and maybe they were trying to capture lightning in a bottle twice, and they couldn't, or where do you think the show went wrong?
I think they did the same level of promoting. I think the two things working against it was the time of the year because it's so close to Christmas. And also Sunday it started snowing, right around 3. So I think people stayed in. I think a lot of that scared people away, so.
Yeah, there's been many of Aloha cons that I went through where, oh no, it's the Thanksgiving weekend, it started snowing.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I doing here?
So before we wrap this up, because I know we got to get over to the live stream. We've got about 5 minutes or so.
5 minutes or so.
But so what are your thoughts for next year, like based on everything that happened this year with the Comic-Con season? Like are you going to do anything different? Are you going to try different shows? Are you going to drop any? What's your thoughts there?
So I'm already off to a bad start because I was rejected from Artist Alley at C2E2.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I think part of it might be is that they're inundated with requests for Artist Alley. Okay. I think the other part of it is that ReedPop is trying to push people into exhibitor booths at a higher rate. So instead of spending like the $460 or whatever it is for an Artist Alley table, they want you spending $900 to $1,200 on an exhibitor booth. Where you're going to struggle just as much to make that money back. So right off the bat, I'm debating about what shows. So I want to try different shows: Heroes, Baltimore. I have my usual staples that I'll probably be going to. I'm already prepaid for San Diego, so that's a lock. But I'd like to try selectively try a few new shows, and then maybe drop or only go as an attendee for shows where I don't get in. Like C2E2 right now, I'm contemplating as to whether if I can take the trip just as an attendee to try to network.
Oh,
and
okay.
Try, and maybe do it from that angle. But,
gotcha.
I want the trip to be worth my while. I don't want to spend like $800 for 3 days where I'm leaving Chicago and there's not much I have to show for it except for a bag of caramel cheddar mix popcorn.
Okay. Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, you probably would get in cheaper if you didn't get a table, but then you'd still have the travel expense and the food and hotels and everything. I don't
Right,
know.
right.
It could be better spent trying to do a different show instead of C2E2, you know?
Well, C2E2 I has been proven usually
A
for
good
me
one.
to be able to good for networking. I met a lot of collaborators there. I met a lot of friends there that were comic creator friends. So I have a lot of love for C2E2. I'm just very frustrated with Reed Pop and
Yeah.
whatever their process is for curating a show. It seems super selective and almost very clicky,
Yeah.
for lack of a better
That's been
description.
my experience with them too, you know?
Right.
I think for me, I definitely started this year pulling back from multiple day shows because I like the
Yeah.
one day shows a lot. I think it's gonna be even further this coming year,
Yep.
2023. I mean, Wicked Comic Con was amazing this year, but that turned into a 2-day, so I'll be doing that one. I already committed to that.
I'm optimistic. So I prepaid Wicked at
Me
Wicked
too. Yeah, I
because it was that
prepaid like a
good.
couple weeks after just to make
Yeah.
sure I have a table.
But doing a 2-day now instead of a 1-day, that changes the game a little bit. So
Changes the dynamic, definitely.
yeah, when those 1-day shows, when people show up, they only have the 1 day to shop. That's it.
Now it's like that same money spread over 2 days and
Yeah.
extra expenses.
Yeah.
So
And driving back and forth too. It's like, you know what I mean? It's that one extra trip now back and forth where a tank of gas is what? $50?
yeah, right.
So
And then you're
write that off
parking
your
now.
expense list,
You got to park now too for the day.
Expense everything.
Yeah, oh yeah. I do that now. I've been like, expensing everything, saving every receipt, all
Yep.
that fun stuff.
Pro tip, get a Dropbox account. Whenever you're handed a receipt that has something to do with what you're doing, snap that photo, upload it to Dropbox.
Yeah.
Once that's done, end of the year, you just go through your receipts and you're good to go.
Yep. I do that, or I keep all the receipts in my pocket and then put them all in one area, and then every month I try to keep up on it monthly if I can. Sometimes I don't, but I try to do it so when tax season comes, I can just add everything up and go,
Yeah.
So I try to do that. So that's a pro tip for everybody out there too.
Yeah. Don't wait for tax season. Just do it as you go.
Try to do it monthly if you can.
I'm bad at that.
I know. I try to keep up of it. Sometimes I miss it and I got to do it, every couple of months. But for me, I think I'm gonna focus more again on 1-day shows and actually pulling back a lot because I'm going to be trying to finish up the 3 books and then fulfilling. So I'll be doing that a lot, and I'm back working full time. So that I don't need to be at shows as much and trying to make money, but I do want to keep one foot in shows because I do feel like that's important to be around and network and, things like that too.
If you don't show interest in coming back to the show, that show won't favor you.
Right.
With those returning guests that they tend, even though they want to diversify and bring in new blood, they'll always take care of you if they see you coming back as a returning guest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you say no once, you're blacklisted for years until either a change of management or like a little bit of like a heart shows and some of these cold-hearted promoters.
Oh yeah, we've seen that on all ends of the spectrum. So yeah, so that's pretty much our report for 2023 or 2022. I think it was definitely a roller coaster year. If you guys have attended cons, definitely comment. Like, let us know what you saw at your cons this year. Like, what ones were profitable?
Or tweet at us
the same kind of trends. What'd you say, Johnny?
Or tweet at us.
Yeah, tweet at us. Let us know. Yeah, we'd love to, talk about this stuff. Like, if we all talk about this stuff, we can all help each other avoid bad conventions and try to hit all the ones that are good and worthwhile. So
right.
It's a hard year to gauge because of coming off COVID and the economy. I think it's not representative of a typical con year. So. We'll see how next year is, you know?
It's funny when people say bad convention because I always think like I need to hear bad convention from like three people. If
Yes, yeah.
three people say this show was rough, then I believe it. Because if it's one or two, those might be the people that are like on their phone behind the
Yeah,
table.
right.
You know what I
You
mean?
need a
They're not
handful saying it. And also sometimes I want to experience it myself a couple of times just to make sure, you know, and then you kind of make the judgment call from there, you know. But
Yep,
this is a hard
absolutely.
year to gauge because of all those factors, you know. So
Yep.
but all right, we're gonna wrap this up. If you guys definitely subscribe, like the video. Join us every other Wednesday too for live streams. Me and Johnny and a couple guests usually, you know. So
Soon to be Tuesdays.
yes, Tuesdays in 2023. We're moving to Tuesdays. So definitely join us. All right, we are going to close this out. We will talk to you later. Read some comics and have a good one, guys. All right, see ya.